Today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, bring you comics news, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching the Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro! Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. This month is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Now, I'll touch base more on that a little later on, but for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, on last week's episode, I asked true or false. Due to his healing factor, Wolverine cannot get drunk. Well, the answer is both true and false. Now let me explain. It's true, well, or rather, it's false, because when he does drink alcohol, it makes him drunk for only a few seconds. But it's true because once he gets drunk, the healing factor ends up negating all the alcohol poisoning. So if you answered either true or false, you're right. And 14 people have answered, and because they've answered, their names have been entered in the drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is... Mason Perez from Pineville, Louisiana. So congratulations, Mason. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. Alright, here's the question for next week's episode. And this is a Wonder Woman question. It's also true or false. True or false? Dr. Psycho, one of Wonder Woman's original nemesis, was inspired by a college professor who felt that women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. Now, the next segment would either be comically speaking or a throwdown show. I mean, not comically speaking, but either a throwdown showdown or any questions. But I said comically speaking mainly because that's going to be the next segment, and I have something that I really need to talk about on that segment. Is going to take up a lot of time. So with that being said, now it's time for comically speaking. So without further ado, let's talk comics. Alright, I just completed Night Terrors, folks. Now, on last week's episode, I concluded by saying that Dead Man, whose real name is Boston Brand, ends up finding a Nightmare Stone, and now we're planning on using it on Insomnia. Well, what he didn't know was that was what Insomnia was planning for. And then he starts revealing Dead Man's nightmares. And his nightmare is of being alone. But then he ends up giving Dead Man something that he tried his hardest to avoid: a family. He tried avoiding having a family even before he died as a circus performer. And then here comes Insomnia doing exactly giving him exactly what he didn't want. And at first he was content with it, but then Sandman finally got him to snap out of it and realize that that's not what he wanted. And so he goes after Insomnia, and then Insomnia somehow sends him to hell. But wait, it gets interesting. By the way, at this point he had already he had stopped inhabiting Batman's body, which he had been doing a majority of the miniseries. Well, Batman finally gets control. He, Superman, and Wonder Woman end up going inside the Hall of Justice, and they found out that the only way to take down Insomnia once and for all is not with the Nightmare Stone, but with the Dreamstone, which previously belonged to a former Justice League villain by the name of John Dee. So they do that, but they know that none of them are capable of using the Dreamstone without sacrificing their life. So Sandman uses it because, after all, he's a zombie and he's undead, so it can't affect him. And then they finally confront Insomnia, who at this point who had thought he had killed Deadman, but then he finds out you can't kill something. But then Deadman comes out and says, you can't kill me if I'm already dead. So while Sandman is using the Dreamstone on Insomnia, Deadman ends up sending Insomnia on a one-way ticket to hell, where he's reunited with these people that he thought was his family, but actually demons who ends up eating him alive. And then Deadman ends up going to the afterlife. Now, they may have defeated Insomnia, but here's the crazy thing: Insomnia actually won. Now you're probably wondering, Vic, how did he win? Well, he won because he gave everyone nightmares of the Justice League, of just about all the superheroes, and so now the world fears and hates them. You know, it's just like that song by Billy Preston called "Will It Go Round in Circles." The second verse says, "I have a story without no morals, where the bad guy wins every once in a while." Well, even though Insomnia gets defeated and gets eaten alive in hell, he still wins. And while this is going on, after all this happens, Batman ends up in a temporary comatose state after all the wear and tear that he suffered as a result of Deadman inhabiting his body. But don't worry, he'll be fine. And then there's an extra scene in Night Terror's Night's End that has Amanda Waller and a member of Task Force X. And what happens is that it was revealed. Okay, so they ended up getting this artifact called the Helmet of Hate from Lazarus Island. This happened during the Lazarus Planet story arc that occurred earlier this year. And then also they got a hold of, while no one was looking, they got a hold of the Nightmare Stone, because when this was all going on, no one thought about the Nightmare Stone. They all forgot about it. And so then Amanda Waller gives it to this mysterious figure. We don't know who it is because they're in the shadow. She gives them both the Helmet of Hate and the Nightmare Stone, and then he transforms into a new character called Dr. Hate. And his first order of business, now that the world is afraid and mad at the Justice League, he's going to cause folks to be afraid and mad of the Titans, now that they're the premier team in DC. You know what? Just when I thought Joshua Williamson had saved his best for Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, he blows us away again with Night Terrors. And then, and by the way, this all leads to a new series coming to DC in November called Beast World. And really looking forward to it. I'm here for it. And Joshua Williamson, 2 thumbs up. You did that. Although there was one thing that I really didn't like. And that's the fact that DC had to put all their monthly books on a 2-month hiatus, and then come up with all these miniseries within Night Terrors. You know, Mark Peck, who works over at Excalibur Comics in Shreveport, and I were talking about this yesterday, and he was saying that he made a valid point, was that all these folks that are new to reading comics, you know, some of them were very upset and they were very confused over the fact that DC made this decision, and rightfully so. I mean, what they could have done, they could have not done this, and then for 2 issues or 2 monthly issues, they could have made them tie-ins to Night Terrors. But for some reason, they chose not to do that. But it was still a great miniseries. You know, that's one of those miniseries where you think the bad guy loses, but in reality they win. And you know, and then all of a sudden all the superheroes are put through a brand new level of adversity. I mean, I love it. You know why I love it? Because adversity is temporary, and it's only going to be a matter of time until they see light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, okay. Now, because I didn't do a. Now I was supposed to have a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown, but after reading Night Terrors, I just had to let y'all know about it, as I knew it was going to take up a lot of time. But on next week's episode 458, I'm going to have a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown segment. That's from Mike Hart from Monroe, Louisiana. So stay tuned for that. All right, that's it for Comically Speaking. Well, let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, here we go. First up is the Amazing Spider-Man number 33. Batman number 137. Black Panther number 4. Blue Beetle Graduation Day. Now this is a trade paperback, and for those of y'all who are unfamiliar with me and how I do trade paperbacks, I don't count it as one trade paperback. I count the issues that it collects, which is Blue Beetle Graduation Day numbers 1 through 6. And that miniseries leads up to Blue Beetle number 1. Oh, by the way, on next week's episode of the show, I'm going to give my review on the Blue Beetle movie that came out last month. I'm finally going to go out to see it. And so when I do episode 458, that will be the topic. Just a heads up. All right. Next up is Doctor Strange number 7. Fantastic Four number 11. Immortal X-Men number 15. The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, number 10. Justice Society of America, number 6. Night Terrors, Zatanna, number 2. Scarlet Witch, number 8. Shazam, number 3. Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy, number 1. Steelworks, number 4. And finally, X-Men number 26. All right, that's 22. which brings the total number of comics that I've bought since December of 1997 to 12,321. All right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. True or false? Dr. Psycho, one of Wonder Woman's original nemesis, was inspired by a college professor who felt that women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Mason Perez from Pineville, Louisiana, won a free tee on this episode. All right, now this month is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Now, prostate cancer is cancer that occurs in the prostate. The prostate is a small walnut-shaped gland in males that produces a seminal fluid that nourishes and transports sperm. Now, prostate cancer is one of the most common types of cancer among men. Many prostate cancers grow slowly and are confined to the prostate gland, where they may not cause serious harm. However, while some types of prostate cancer grow slowly and may need minimal or no treatment, other types are aggressive and can spread quickly. Prostate cancer may cause no signs or symptoms in its early stages, but prostate cancer that's more advanced can cause signs and symptoms such as trouble urinating, decreased force in the stream or urine, blood in the urine, blood in the semen, bone pain, losing weight without trying, and erectile dysfunction. Now, I know some men that have beaten prostate cancer, and I know some that have lost their lives to prostate cancer. And if you're watching this and you have beaten prostate cancer, or you're the family member of someone who has passed on, this episode is for y'all, and I love y'all, and I'm going to keep fighting every year. Now, one thing about us men is that when it comes, we have pride. Now, sometimes we use pride in good. Now, pride can be used in good ways, and then also it can be misused. But when there's something not right about you, that's when pride can be misused, because, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm fine. I'll just let it pass. No, don't do that. There have been men that have said that, and then it only got worse for them as time passed by, because they either got real sick to the point where they weren't the same anymore, or they straight up died. Don't do that. If there's something not right about you, get checked out. Please, sir. And also, please, ma'am, if it's something else that may affect you. Now, this is a prostate cancer awareness comic hero tee. Inside the speech bubble, you have the universal symbol of men, or males, and then you have the mustache. And then on here on the left sleeve, you have the awareness ribbon and the mustache. Now, if you would like your own, you can find them on my website, imthecomichero.com, for $17, and I will donate half of each purchase to Movember. All right, now here's the road ahead for the show. On next week's episode, which is 458, I'm going to raise awareness of PCOS. Now, PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. It's a cause among women. I personally know some women that have been diagnosed with this and living with this, and I can only imagine the pain and the difficulties they go through on a daily basis. Then on episode 459, I'm raising awareness of blood cancer. I personally know someone who was diagnosed with blood cancer a few years ago and has beaten it. And I know I know a few that have died from blood cancer. This episode is in honor of those that are still with us, and in loving memory of those who are not. Now, in episode 460, I'm raising awareness of the NICU. I know quite a few folks that when they were born, they spent a little time in the NICU. You know, I'd also have some friends whose children have spent some time in the NICU. This episode is in honor of all the people that were in the NICU that ended up eventually getting out of the NICU. By the way, NICU stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. It's where babies go that are sick or are born prematurely, spend some time in. This episode is in honor of them, their parents, the doctors and nurses that nurse these babies to health, and it's also in loving memory of the babies that didn't make it. And on episode 461, the 10th anniversary episode. And folks, I have a design. I'm going to start making the shirt in a few days. And if you have liked the Comic Hero fan forum on Facebook, you will get to see it before anyone else does. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did last year. When it gets close to the time of doing the 10th anniversary episode, which will be in October, I'm going to post it for everyone to see. And your job, if you choose to do so, is to either like, love, or leave a positive comment, and everyone who does will get entered in a drawing for one, and I'm drawing 5 names. So tune in for that. All right, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, welcome. And as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. If you're watching this on the Comic Book Lovers Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. All right, I'm Victor Nolly on the Comic Hero. I'll see you next time for episode... Oh, my mug. Oh, here it is. I'll see you next time for episode 458. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.